let's start.
It's because these people are pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk tonight about overachievers.
So that's actually me, right?
Yeah.
And what I found about overachievers is that typically the people that are, well, what does it mean overachieve? Means they overachieve, means they achieve more than what?
What's required?
What's required?
Or what's expected.
What's expected? Or maybe what else?
Or the standard that the average population sets.
So what, they earn more?
They earn
Do more than is necessary.
More than is necessary?
Overexertion.
What am I looking for here? Someone who overachieves. He overachieves more than what? More than what?
The potential.
Well, more than potential? How do you overachieve more than your potential?
Because that is technically if you're achieving, that's part of your potential. But achieving more than what they expect your potential to be.
I want to classify overachieving as overachieving more than your abilities, or more than someone with a comparable set of abilities, circumstances would have achieved. So now the point is, if you're, let's say, significantly more intelligent than someone else and you achieve more than that person, that's expected, right? That you have the abilities, If your family was able to put you through college, or if you grew up in the United States, it doesn't necessarily qualify you as an overachiever. The fact that you did more for society than someone who has to, who's not sure how he's going to eat his next meal, right? They're just concentrated on how to get more food, right? Obviously, they're not going to be that productive for mankind. They're just not, because of circumstance. What I want to zone in on people or the qualities that enable someone to achieve more than other people with comparative skills, circumstances, scenarios, situations. That's what I want to focus on. Because typically you see someone who's an overachiever, someone who's really intelligent. I learn with a guy about once a week. You guys, some of the people you here even know him. I'm sure a lot of people here know him. So I'm not sure if I should try to obscure who it is or not. Maybe yes. But
Would they care?
Huh?
Would they care?
Maybe not. Anyhow, he's a lawyer. Okay? He's a lawyer. And I was telling him about my son. If I remember, I spoke about this last time. My son, I decided that he's just too intelligent for his class. That's why he's bored. Remember I said it last week? Yeah. So I said to him that my son, I just decided he's too intelligent. That's why he's not stimulated in class. And that's why he hates going to school. So he said, maybe we should get him checked. When I was a kid, I was 5 years old. They said my parents sent me for an evaluation, wide range of evaluation, including intelligent IQ and everything. And it came out he seemed to indicate like. So I said, tell me, you said, how did you do in your IQ scores? He said, I did pretty well. So I said, was it higher or lower than your LSATs? Now, who knows what an LSAT is? An LSAT is the pretest for law. Yeah. And the high score is 180. And people score between 150 and 170 is the bulk of the, right? So he said about the same, both of them in the 160s. Now having an IQ of 160, that's super genius, because anything above 130 is genius. So I was thinking that if this person is able to accomplish more, well, they have a greater intellectual capacity. It's no big deal. It's expected for them to achieve more than the average Joe. I actually heard this also, that someone said this. Maybe I don't remember who said this, but someone said that anyone who's ever changed the world has to have at least an IQ of 130. That's what he said. I don't know if it's true or not. Unverified, undocumented. Point is that once you reach that plateau, it doesn't matter anymore. But that statistics aside, the point is that there are people that have intelligence and other people that would seem to have the same amount of intelligence, skills, abilities, qualities, circumstances. Some of them are overachievers and some of them, obviously they're underachievers, but also people that just are run of the mill. So the question is, what are the characteristics that we find by overachievers, people that do things that wouldn't be expected of them if you just saw the set of skills and situations, circumstances, and abilities? What are those things that help those people achieve more than they should have?
Motivation.
Motivation.
Charity.
Charity. You think it's charity?
I think it's just not thinking about what you're doing. It's just doing it.
It's just doing it? So it's not about
being super focused about what you want to do. No.
So focus, you're saying like laser-like focus.
Yeah. Or, yeah.
It's fun to get a lot of answers here.
There's
Prayer.
something in
Motivation.
internally different. There's just like there's an
Focus.
X factor.
It's an X factor.
It's
It's an
like-
it. It's the intangibles.
Yeah, it's like there's just like the difference between Mr. A and Mr. B grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, same intelligence, yada yada, same meat, all this. The difference between A and B is like B has you call it focus. There's just something God given that's different.
But what is that?
I don't know.
And sometimes it's
And there's no way to learn it, you're saying?
Nah.
There's no way to learn it?
No. There's some people, like, they may be mediocre, but like, if there's something that they want to get done, they'll get it done. Like, if they have to go figure out how to get it done, they'll try, like, digging underneath the mountain, that doesn't work, they'll try going on through the mountain, that doesn't work, they'll climb over the mountain, or they'll get a helicopter.
So that's
They're
like
so
relentless.
super focused on
Relentless.
and they're focused.
It's a good term.
Determined.
Yeah,
Determined.
That's a good
I wonder
like
if
this.
it could come from their upbringing, if their families are like that, if their
Yeah,
parents,
yes.
is that what you were saying,
Yeah,
John?
I'm saying there's something
Genetic.
God given.
So it's natural. There's no way to
You can improve it, but at the end of the day, I think there's something God given that separates two people from the same exact moment.
Well, wait a minute, but let's say, assuming what you're saying is correct.
Sure.
Okay? And let's say whatever it is that we determine, it could be motivation, it could be determination, it could be whatever words that we gave, those things could also be God-given. That's also a trait that someone has, right? The way that they deal with adversity, that they deal with critics.
Sure.
Point is that even if it is natural, it doesn't mean it can't be acquired.
Yeah.
Right? It means the second someone knows what they want, well, then we in Judaism have been preaching for thousands of years that you can actually acquire it, even if you don't have it naturally. If you're not naturally a giving person, not naturally a kind person, not naturally a patient person, or any one of the good qualities that you think that are desirable and admirable, well, you could actually acquire them. And there's a method to doing that. So the point is, once we isolate what exactly it is, or maybe even the process, I think all those answers are actually correct. What I wanted to do is, but I said, once we figure out what it is that what are these characteristics, then we already know, the roadmap of how to actually become an overachiever. So what I wanted to do is take maybe a few stories from the Torah of people that seem to have overachieved and try to break it down and see what was it specifically about their nature, their character, their behavior that caused them to be different than their peers. And we'll start with this week's parsha. The name of the parsha is Jethro, named after Moses' father-in-law. And out of the 54 parshios, sections of the Torah, many of them are named after people. None of them, ironically, are named after Moses, which is strange. And Moses' father-in-law, he has a section of Torah named after, anyhow, as an aside. So Moses' father-in-law, we start this week's parsha. Moses' father-in-law, he hears the wonderful things that happen to the Jews. The Jews right now are leaving Egypt, the Exodus, the miracles, the plagues, the splitting of the sea was last parsha. Moses' father-in-law hears everything that happens and decides to come join. To come join the Jewish people. He comes, joins the Jewish people, and he sees his son-in-law, and his son-in-law welcomes him, and they have a huge party. And then, he settles down. He's there for a nice extended visit. And he wakes up the next morning, he sees Moses and starts answering questions. Right? Moses is the rabbi, and all the people will have a question. And there's just a line out the door, like DMV style. Just out the door. Everyone's just, right, snaking. And Moses just all day and all night answering questions. And Yisro, he says to him, wait a minute, why can't we outsource some of your responsibilities? So he develops this wonderful system, very economic, very escalating, that every 10 people have one monitor, and every 50 people have one guy in charge. That is every 5 sections every group of 5 groups of 10, every 100 people, every 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and then Moses on the top. And Moses only gets the very difficult questions that none of the other people can answer. Brilliant, and they implement the system, and Moses has tons of time to care for other things. Right? It's like, imagine you don't go to the Supreme Court for every petty traffic violation, right? You don't do that because there's the questions that go up in the courts. Very a system that we have perfected already now. You know. And this was Yisro's contribution, and he came and he gave this idea, and he left to delegate, to outsource. And that's the first session of this first part of this week's Torah portion. This part is the most significant event in not only the Torah, but all of Jewish history. What's that? The experienced revelation at Sinai. 10 Commandments, right? This national prophecy, revelation. It's the kind of the exclamation point on the whole Exodus story. Right? It started off with the plagues and leaving Egypt and the splitting of the sea and all the clashes that they had with Pharaoh and the Egyptians, and culminating in this wonderful national revelation experience at Sinai. So this is the most important event in, like I said, not only in the Torah, but we would argue in human history, because this is the one event that we always go back to that has kind of shaped and formed our people, but also all of the world and all of the beliefs and faiths and tenets and systems of belief that are outgrowth of our people are also heavily influenced by this one event. And this got me thinking, okay, so these two portions of the Torah shouldn't really go together, like the story of Yisro outsourcing and then the next part, that the revelation at Sinai, for a few reasons. Number one, there's actually a dispute amongst the commentaries whether or not this episode of Yisro happened before or after the revelation at Sinai. So it's possible that Yisro, that Moses' father-in-law, showed up after the revelation at Sinai. So the Torah deliberately went out of chronological order to tell you the story of Yisro before the episode at the mountain, at Mount Sinai. That's number one. Number two, this great idea that he had, the outsourcing idea, wasn't actually his idea. Because if you look in Deuteronomy, it attributes that idea to someone else. So it's possible that he corroborated that he also had that idea, but for whatever reason, we attribute that idea to him. And lastly, it seems strange that the Parsha, the section of the Torah that talks about the most significant event, is named after this Yisro, who, by the way, was a priest and was an idolater. and he came and eventually he converted to the Jewish people, but at this point in time he wasn't even Jewish. So it seems strange to tell us this story as sort of the preamble, the introduction to the getting of the Torah at Mount Sinai. Tell us the story of Yisro. So how is this germane at all to our subject? I think for a few reasons. I think that the Torah wants us to take the story of Yisro and break it down and examine it. Because what he did, what he accomplished, well, not even accomplished, but his inspiration, his initiative, his motivation, his determination is an example of someone overachieving. Imagine you're a priest, you're a dignified priest of some Christian church, I don't know, right? You have a very respectable position somewhere in, in Tulsa or Topeka, I don't know, someplace, right? And you hear a story about some people by the name of the Jews who have this wonderful experience, and they're touting a new kind of belief, a belief in the one invisible God, right? Not this, what you're preaching, something which totally rejects and repudiates everything that you have been preaching. And if this ideology is true, remember, this was a pagan world. By definition, if you're a priest in ancient times, you're a pagan. If the Jews are right, you have to take all your whole university and your whole diploma, and you guys rip it to shreds. So think about Yisro not only leaving his family, his community, his where he was living to go join these other people, but he was also rejecting everything that he'd been teaching till now. So that's number one. Number two, Yisro heard what happened to the Jewish people. What do you mean? Yisro was in Midian. This was in Egypt. How did he hear? Or better yet, if he heard, it seems likely that other people might have heard as well. No?
They didn't have email back then.
They didn't have email, but if Yisro heard, it's the first words of the Torah section of the parsha start off, and Yisro heard what happened to Jewish people. Well, he was far away, so how did he hear? Well, somehow he heard. We don't know how he heard. It doesn't say, and he heard via what medium. He just says that he heard.
He was
Okay, he was most vulnerable. So what? The point is, this information was conveyed, and it reached him. And you would assume that if it reached him, it might have reached other people as well. And we don't find any account, any narrative, any story of anyone else abandoning their life, their job, their profession, their family, their community, and going to join the Jewish people. Yisro was the only one. He was, perhaps we could call him an overachiever. He heard the same information, and he did something about it. Everyone else might have heard the same information as well.
Well, they're probably aware of other people who didn't write about it. It wasn't written down.
Oh, maybe yes, maybe no. That could be argued. That could be argued.
Would that make the era of Rav also overachievers or something?
Perhaps. Or like bandwagon jumpers.
No. So they're the people that
Bandwagon
they
jumpers.
said that one
It's a sports
that
team.
has the Jews got
Bandwagon.
teachers group up like
Jumping on a bandwagon?
Almost
Yeah.
a bunch of
Jumping
people
on a bandwagon?
basically left
Right.
with them.
When things are good.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Because in the Torah, in truth, in the Torah, we don't actually paint. We paint them more as bandwagon jumpers than. Well, it's possible that there was that. There was.
Once, I think directly.
Well, I know, but if you look at the Midrash, it talks about them very negatively. So it's possible everyone heard the same thing, and to him it was a much bigger deal as a priest, as a member of the clergy, and the clergy of a faith that was not in agreement, not in concert with the Jews. To him, it's remarkable that he was able to make this change.
Is that an achievement, though?
Is that an achievement?
Or maybe or maybe he found like
Well, think about it. He did something no one else did.
he converted.
Well, we think of achievement as typically like a.
Achieving his beliefs, and that kind of arose from it. You didn't take action first.
Maybe Judaism had the beliefs of Judaism were more in line than what his were, and since it wasn't, when you're growing up in a town, you don't know. In Friendswood, people were amazed that you're actually Jewish. People didn't know that. Some people didn't know people don't celebrate Christmas. I had to remind this girl every year that I didn't celebrate Christmas. But sometimes it's all he knew of that religion of his priesthood. So when Judaism came around, he met Moses and all that. It's like, wait a minute, it could be questioning what he actually learned.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the one caveat, and I think actually, if I remember correctly, I spoke about this last year. I want to see if I don't remember that. But someone mentioned last year at this very table when we spoke about this. Well, not exactly from the same angle, but someone said, "Wait, well, of course, he's Moses' son. He's Moses' father-in-law. Maybe he had more of an incentive or more of an in, so to speak."
An inside shoot. It was you, wasn't it?
We can go back to the audio tape. I have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Jason, historian, unofficial.
Yeah, the talk historian.
Unofficial historian.
It was him?
No, it wasn't me.
I'm going to go back and listen to it. So I want to say that to overachieve, you need three characteristics. Three characteristics. And I think we can use Yisrael, and we'll try to find other examples for this. Number one, you have to be inspired. Number two, you have to take action. Number three, you have to persevere when you have obstacles, when you adversity. Thank you. When you face adversity. It's possible that everyone in the world, we have, the Talmud says this. Well, because yes, that's the chronology. The Talmud says is that when the Jews were at Sinai, everyone in the world was aware of that. Now, how exactly they were aware of it, it's not so clear. Point is that this information was widely available to everyone. Yisro, just like everyone else, he also heard it. Point is that most people, when they heard it, they just kept on smoking their cigarettes or their cigars, harken back to what we talked about earlier, or drink their Kool-Aid, or doing whatever they did. It didn't impact them. They weren't inspired by it. You read something in the news. How often do you get inspired about it? People are... Inspiration means to take something to heart. To have it affect you. To have it impact you. It's trying to stir up an emotion. It's the same thing, right? That's why it's so hard to advertise, because most people are unwilling to actually change something about their internal feelings. And inspiration means when something from the outside impacts you on the inside. That's what inspiration means. You read about a wonderful story someplace on the other end of the world. It's a story. It's entertainment. It doesn't actually get into your kishkas, as we say. It doesn't get into your innards, right? And actually impact you. Make you contemplate change.
Have you seen that Thailand anti-smoke commercial? It's supposed to be like the best ever anti-smoke commercial. What it is you have these little kids go asking these adults for a life for smoking.
That's horrible.
But it's like
but it goes, and it's like the people are like, "You're too young to smoke. That's bad for you. You shouldn't be smoking. That's bad for you. You're young." And the kid, like, there's a boy and a little girl. You can see them, and the response is like, "Well, if it's bad for me, why are you doing it?" And you're telling me why? If you tell me not to do it and it's bad for you, why are you smoking?
But what you just said is a great example. Thank you for bringing this up. Sometimes you have people when they smokers. So smokers, when they go to the doctor, what does the doctor try to do to them? Shows them a picture of their lung and a healthy lung.
I know.
Right? Your lung. This is your lung, right? It looks like a furnace, right? It's all disgusting. And this is like a healthy pink lung. And what this is trying to do is to get people inspired. Right? And some people, they just read it and it doesn't impact them at all. And they don't even consider change. And they say, "Oh, that's." They try to do away with it. They try to answer it out. How many people here have ever texted while they drove?
I tried to only do it at red light.
Okay. Has there anyone?
That was one of the things we were working on. We were working on that. You guys.
How many texted and drove today? Okay, I think I did. I don't know. Maybe.
I try only if I text when I drive. I try to if I text. I try to only do it at stoplights or at stoplights.
Point is that we've all texted and driven, even though.
Put your phone in the back seat, guys. Put it in the back.
Dana,
Put it in the back.
have you ever texted while you drove?
No, I put my phone in the bag. Put it in the back seat. You don't have to. You don't get it. You get a call.
I was thinking that.
You just get out. You. And then
Get a man purse.
A nurse.
No, a nurse is a male nurse, so.
True.
The person who sits in the passenger seat does my texting while I drive. I have them text me.
Because you were talking on
The point is that.
Don't people talk to text today?
Yeah.
Yeah, but still you have to fiddle on your phone.
No?
Now you're still like
That's what I did.
fiddling.
Yeah, you press the text and you just speak into the
But then you have to click send.
Yes, I'm looking to make sure you get it correct.
Right.
Don't text
So
and drive, like the signs on the freeway, like right at 59 and 610. 75 people have been
Did you
killed
see that
since-
sign?
People live in Texas, right?
Drug drivers say that the content. Like,
Point is that
it's in one ear, out the other. It's outside out.
exactly, and the point is that people, two identical people, right, when confronted with something that that is liable to provide inspiration, the person who's going to be the overachiever is going to be inspired. He's going to be changed by what they see, what they experience, what they encounter, what they come across. And someone else can see the identical thing, and they have, the distinction between those two people is that one is opening up him or herself to be inspired. So that's number one. Number two is, even once you have inspiration, you have to translate that into actually doing something about it. Right? Yes, so here's this wonderful thing, and he's so touched, and he's like, "My God, I've been wrong all these years." I wonder how many of my kids are up. Chaya's out of town. Okay. Right? You've been royal years. You have this inspiration. Well, are you going to do something about it or not? Right? Because inspiration left idle will dissipate and will disappear over time. So the next step is, once you have inspiration to actually say, I'm going to do something about it. Okay, I'm joining the Jewish people. I'm making a change. And the last thing is the perseverance. Right? What do you mean? You're leaving us? What are you, crazy? Look at your community. Look at your family. Look at this where you grew up. This is where your life is, your personal, professional life. And every good idea, right, that has ever been successful, there's always been someone who has said, oh, this is a terrible idea. I just read today on the news. Today, there's a company by the name of Nest. I heard of Nest. They make these fancy, like thermostats and smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, like these really fancy gadgety. And today they were bought out by Google for...
Is that the one that Matthew McConaughey speaks for?
Maybe, I don't know.
That's what you think of?
They were bought out for $3.2 billion. And the guy who started the company was working for Apple, and he designed the iPod. And then he told his friends that I read this today, he told his friends, oh, I'm leaving Apple, and I'm starting a company that makes thermostats. Everyone was laughing at him. Right? You're leaving Apple, your cushy job here at one of the biggest technology companies. You're probably making maybe a few $1 million a year or $500,000 a year, whatever, making big bucks. You're starting a thermostat company, and who's laughing now? Right? And I don't think there's ever been. Miriam. Disgusting?
Good job.
She just said disgusting.
Hey, sorry steps in the potty training.
Huh?
Sorry steps in potty training.
She's terrified. Okay, Miriam,
What was the story about this company again?
No, the point is that when he started his company, everyone was discouraging him from leaving Apple.
And what? It's doing very well now?
He sold it for $3.2 billion today.
Wow. To who?
So the point is to Google. The point is that if you have an idea, you're inspired to do something, right? You have an idea, you're always going to face detractors. There's always people that are going to try to convince you to give up your idea. Don't have this silly idea. What are you really trying to do? Just stay the course, go with the flow. Why change? Why are you doing this to yourself, right? There's always going to be someone whose job in his life it is to make you miserable and to make you forget your dreams. I don't know. That's human nature. It's human nature. And these three things, and the only way to be successful is just persevere, keep on pushing, and just go. You're inspired. You decide to change. Go with it, and know that you're going to be facing tremendous adversity, tremendous obstacles, right? And nothing that has ever been great or been worthwhile or has improved the world has ever been smooth, right? There's no easy way to do something great. There isn't.
If it were easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly. And what differentiates the overachievers from the regular run-of-the-mill people is number one, their ability to be impacted by inspiration. Number two, their ability to translate that into actions. And lastly, to be able to persevere in the face of adversity. Jason.
Here's the concept drawing people overachievers for us. Thing to mind was the daughters of Slopan and the guys that got the second class off. Because in both cases, these groups of people went and were regular Jews there. Basically, went to Moses, challenged God, and God said, "That's a great idea. Let's change around the laws that we have here a little bit." Mm-hmm. Which is, I think that.
Yeah, I'm sure someone said, "Oh, you're going to try to change the system, really?"
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody could fight City Hall, right?
Nobody fight City Hall. So they went to Moses, and Moses went to God, and God said, "Sounds great. We're going to do what you're saying." So I'm wondering what the rabbis thought was what made those two groups of people different. Yeah,
but that's another. I didn't even think about that. But I was thinking about Abraham, right?
Yeah,
Abraham. It's possible that he was just super intelligent. And it's possible that he was more intelligent than everyone else. It's possible. We don't know for sure. I can't think of any source that would say one or the other. But what we do know about Abraham is that he had this idea about monotheism, and he decided to work on it. Action, number one, inspiration, number two, action. And lastly, we know that he faced tremendous adversity. And he persevered through it. We have the account that they tried to kill him. They threw him into the fire. right? His family, they were all idolaters, they were pagans. His neighbor, community, society, country, everyone was against this idea, and everyone discouraged him. And now look at him. He's the father of monotheism. Look what he is now, right? He changed the world because he had these three things. I think Moses as well, right? Moses is obviously the leader of the Jews. And what's the first thing we hear about Moses? It's the very first thing the Torah tells us about an adult Moses, not about a baby Moses. Baby Moshe.
He's born.
He's born.
His mother put him in the basket down the Nile.
Okay, that's the first thing we hear about him.
Did he have like a list or something?
Okay, well, that's not the first thing it tells us.
He burned his tongue.
Okay. Okay.
That he was a very modest man.
He was a modest man?
Or yeah, he was.
killed the Egyptian.
Well, that's the first story, but even before that, what's the first thing it says? It says that Moshe grew up. This is in Exodus 2:11, I believe. 2:11. Moses grew up. He went out to his friends and saw their suffering. Now remember, Moses' achievement in life was his leadership ability. Right? What's the first thing that a leader needs? He needs to care for the people, right? He has to care. If a leader means that someone who takes the problems of the people that he's leading and puts them on his own shoulders. What bothers someone else bothers me. First thing that Moses does is he goes out, right, and he gets inspired. He sees the Jewish people suffering, right? He's like, oh my gosh, what's happened to the Jewish people? Next thing that happens is he sees someone starting up with the Jewish people, right? He develops a concern for the Jewish people, first by gaining the inspiration. Next thing he does is he puts it into action by killing the Egyptian. Right, and we know throughout his whole life he was dealing with he had to persevere through adversity. I'm saying that every page of Numbers is just all about the times where he had to fight for the Jews and just keep on battling to maintain this leadership. So, and these are the ones that came to the top of my head, but I think that. Even for us, and even on mundane things, this is not just like we talk about Yisro as being somewhat of an innovator, and obviously Abraham, Moses as a leader, but I think overachievers in any field, whatever it is, it's people that are inspired to do something, right? You notice something that, there's a lack. There's no smart thermometers. Like, gosh, we are such a high-tech society. We have thermometers that were built in the 1840s, right? And Da Vinci designed them. It's outrageous, right? So you get inspired to do something. Right? You decide to actually build it. And then people are going to say, it's the silliest idea. You're leaving your job? Are you crazy? And you have to keep on fighting. And any one of the major, I said even the secular world, right? The people that have accomplished whatever it is, whatever overachiever, you'll notice this pattern. They have inspiration, they have an idea, they have something that, right? They actually do something about it. How many people have had a great idea but did nothing about it? And then you see someone else bring it to market. Has that happened here? Oh gosh, I thought about that. That was my idea. Now someone else is. Why? Because we have a tendency to have great ideas and not actually implement them.
What if you don't even what if they don't even have a good idea?
Okay, so you have to...
He might be one that discourages.
You can't just
No.
What if they don't have the idea, but they're so determined to do something, but they don't have...
And I think that in each one of these areas, there's some people that don't have great ideas, but they...
The best ideas come out of the worst ideas.
Well, yeah, but some people who don't have great ideas, but they never procrastinate. Like, they never procrastinate. So, procrastination is a hindrance, is a liability in taking action. Right? When someone procrastinates, I'll do it tomorrow, right? I'll do it some other time. Sometime I'll do that. Procrastination means when they're not actually implementing their idea. So there'll be someone who has wonderful ideas, but then they just procrastinate them. Some people don't procrastinate, but they need to work on making sure that they learn how to gain inspiration. And there's a way to do it. Even if someone is not naturally endowed with
$1 million question.
Well, I have the answer. So, where's the $1 million?
Give me your bank account. I'll send it over.
Yeah, but there are ways to learn how to have inspiration. It's about being attentive. And being attentive, thank you.
I'm sorry, the speech got in me. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. It's not the first time I was corrected in class.
I was trying to help
won't
you.
be the last
I was
time.
trying to help you.
That's a hat tip to Jessica. Remember, it was like a year and a half ago, and you corrected me on a word. I don't remember what word it was, but and you sent me like an email. Oh, actually, look here, dictionary.com. I'm sure we can find the email somewhere. We can find the email somewhere, I'm sure. Should I look for it?
Go ahead. I'm not stopping you.
Yeah, so to learn how to have inspiration is also a skill. Some people have it naturally. They just come up with great ideas all the time. Some people need to learn the skill.
But would you say that Moses is an overachiever or that he maximized his potential as a
Well,
achiever?
it's
Overachieving to me says it's beyond what we expect. If you look at Moses, he started off at a high level, but even if the rest of his family, Aaron was clearly a leader of the Jewish people. Long after Moses was gone, he disappeared. He comes back.
well, but Jason, your question is only relevant to whether or not Moses had it from birth or developed it.
So we can say it
Point is that either way, it's possible that he had it all from birth. That's possible.
I guess for me, I think of overachieving as doing something that the others that were in a similar situation are not. I'm not convinced. He did a great deal of stuff. I'm not convinced it's very different as opposed to, say, Ruth, who one wife goes one way, she goes four.
That's another example. Thank you.
That to me is overachieving versus max.
Yeah. So yeah, I brought it as an example just for the model of doing something great. But that's why Yisro is the example. Because Yisro heard what everyone else heard.
Yeah.
He did something about it.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm sure Moses, I'm saying it's not possible to say, or it's not likely to say that Moses was this great person from birth and didn't do anything himself.
No.
Because that makes him not much less remarkable than the Torah presents him as. Sure. So it's possible that he actually needed to work on one of these three levels. It wasn't something that he was born with naturally. Maybe yes, maybe no. Your argument's a good argument. Either way, if you want to be an overachiever, you have to know that there's three things to greatness, to accomplishment, right? And if you focus on these three areas, you'll be able to achieve more than other people who, with given the same circumstances and set of scenarios, won't be able to because they don't know the secret to overachievement. So that's the lesson I wanted to take. I hope. I think it's. Like you said, we started off by asking the question, what are the characteristics? What are the marks of an overachiever? Everyone said, well, determination, perseverance, inspiration. That's all true. And I don't think it's the greatest insight or the greatest idea, like brilliant idea ever. But I said, hey, it's the Torah kind of maps it out with stories of the great. Like you brought other examples, Ruth and the daughters of Tzlafchad, obviously Moses and Abraham. But we see that as a model for achieving greatness. And like we mentioned, it's something that if you want to have this, well, there's a way to actually accomplish it. There's a way to learn how to have inspiration, how to make sure that your inspiration doesn't die, right, by implementing it into action, and then how to learn to deal with the constant flow of obstacles that will come in your path that you have set on to achieve that said greatness. So that's my ideas, and I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope we'll see y'all again, and love you all.
Y'all, you're texting.
Thank you.